Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Broadcasting live from North Nashville, Tennessee. North Nashville spans from Metro Center down to the border of Bicentennial Mall, including the neighborhoods of Bordeaux, Buena Vista, Parkwood Estates, Germantown, Haynes Manor, Jefferson Street, Fisk Park, Cumberland Gardens, Oak Valley, Enchanted Hill, and many others. It's perhaps best known for the 3 universities housed here, including Tennessee State University, Fisk University, and Meharry Medical College. North Nashville is also home to the Tennessee Titans practice facility. The Tennessee Titans will begin construction on an expansion project at St. Thomas Sports Park, which will almost double its current footprint in Nashville's Metro Center neighborhood. The plan includes 60,000 square feet in additions, including a new building situated along one of the practice fields, and major renovation of spaces within the existing 75,000 square foot building.
Now live from North Nashville, Dr. William Head. Let's talk about it.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to NorthNashvilleTV.com on a discussion of the island of Haiti, the nation of Haiti, from people who know.
Are you looking for a way to successfully advertise your business or ministry? Look no further than North Nashville's online TV station. Our platform gives you the opportunity to showcase your business or ministry to a wide range of viewers. With our advertising service, you get access to creative professionals who can help spread your message and reach potential customers in a cost-effective manner. We understand the importance of creating an impactful advertisement, and we are committed to helping you achieve your goals. Are you looking to watch some of your favorite family TV shows like The Dick Van Dyke?
The Dick Van Dyke Show, starring Dick Van Dyke,
Lucy,
The Lucy Show,
The Cosby Show, and more? Look no more. With our service, you can instantly access hundreds of classic family TV shows. Plus, you can watch them anytime and anywhere.
Hi, my name is Bobby Leggs. I have a shop at 2525 White Street Pike called Auto Repair Shop. We do all types of automobile repair, brakes, air conditioner, all types of vehicles. If you have a car out there that needs repairs, come see us. We'll work it in. If we can't fix it, we'll get it fixed. Just come see us. Our hours of operation, we normally here from 9 to 5, sometimes later, Monday through Friday.
We have today with us Dr. Gilberto Bastian. She told me that I would probably mess that up. She is the Assistant Director of the Morehouse School of Medicine Global Health Initiative and Equity Institute. Doc, welcome to Nashville.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Head. And it is Gilbert, but grace is extended.
I told you I would mess it up. Go ahead. Tell us about Dr. Bastian.
Sure. So I'm a clinical psychologist by training and have had the pleasure of being at Morehouse School of Medicine for the past 10 years. Really sort of grew up there as a professional, came to Morehouse straight out of doctoral training. And so my area of focus has been largely in the trauma and resilience space. And I sort of cut my teeth in the world of global mental health doing work back home in Haiti. I'm a daughter of Haiti. My family migrated to the States when I was just a girl at 8 years old. And so grew up in South Florida and did all of my schooling and education here in the States. But got involved professionally in Haiti largely after the 2010 earthquake. When, like most folks who are descended from Haiti and who care about Haiti, wanted to be able to be involved in helping somehow. So ended up going there and spending some time for 2 years back and forth, spending a lot of time on the ground, dealing with the mental health impacts and aftermath of that Haiti earthquake. And from there, sort of carved out a niche in disaster mental health that took me to Africa to do post Ebola work around kind of humanitarian crises and disasters and what that means for the mental health of a community and at a population level. So that's largely what I do, in addition to teaching future docs and having a chance to work with an amazing team of folks at Morehouse School of Medicine. It's great to be with you all.
Well, I've already told you all of that just made it imperative that I get you back to talk about what you actually do on a daily basis, along with your love of Haiti. Also with us today is Mr. Robert Nicholas, Executive Director of the AME Service and Development Agency in Washington. Good morning, Mr. Nicholas. How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show.
Tell our audience about your organization, what it does, and where it fits into the Haitian issue as we look at the continual news clips and sound bites that tell us nothing other than it's bad and that ain't good.
Gladly. As you mentioned, I'm with the African Methodist Episcopal Church's Service and Development Agency. It's an entity set up by the AME Church about 40 years ago as an independent organization. We received a great deal of financial support from the AME Church. We have several members we have several bishops on our board, but also other people who are not church related on our board of directors. And we were set up to provide an economic and social development in Africa, the Caribbean, and other parts of the world as needed and as our board sees fit. Right now, our largest project is in Haiti, where we focus on child and maternal health, specifically women of reproductive age and children up to 5 years old. And the geographical focus in Haiti is what is called the Western Department, which includes Port-au-Prince, but 90% of our activities are outside of Port-au-Prince. And the fact that we focus on child and maternal health, and we work mostly in rural and slightly peri-urban areas, we have to provide other support services because our constituents basically need them. So we're looking at the focus is primary health care, but we also have to deal with all kinds of other things, including tuberculosis, HIV, AIDS, and more in the last few years, more and more with severe malnutrition and nutritional recuperation in small children. And similar to Dr. Bastien, I also was born in Haiti and grew up there up until the age of 11 when I emigrated with my family to Southern California, where basically I grew up and was educated in California for the most part. And for the last more than 30 years have been working in economic and social development, mostly in Francophone Africa and parts of the Caribbean, both with a couple of U.S. agencies such as the Peace Corps and a subcontractor to United States Agency for International Development. And in addition to, at AME SEDA, we get funding not only from the AME Church, but also from USAID, from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, from private donations, individual members of the AME Church and other people who give us money to do the work that we do, and also a couple of European organizations in the work that we do. In addition to working in Haiti, we also work in parts of Southern and West Africa.
Well, as a group, a very influential group in the world today. African Americans can be very helpful to the Haitian population. How can we direct our listening audience to provide assistance to you, contributions, what have you?
Contributions can be made in one of two ways. People can go to our website, www.ame-sada.org, or they can contact us directly or send checks and donations to our address in Washington, 1134 11th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., 2001. The funds are basic because the AME Church provides us with funding that covers most of our administrative costs. All funds that are donated are basically 100% go into the work to be done, whether it's the health work that we're doing, the agricultural work that we're doing, the nutritional recuperation that we're doing, so that we don't deduct administrative costs from donations. We don't need to, as I said, because the AME Church covers our administrative costs.
Say all those avenues again so people who jumped up and ran to get a pen, hopefully, to write it down,
Okay.
have it again.
The address, if you want to send a check, is 1134 11th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., 2001. And 20,001, 20001. And to get on our website is www.ame-sada.org.
All right. Hopefully they hear that and respond. Mr. Nicholas, tell us about what's on the ground in Haiti right now. What is it that is driving all of this unrest and the needs of the people?
Well, let me start from the standpoint of the area where we work. We have one clinic in Port-au-Prince, which we've not been able to open for the last 3 or 4 weeks because of the unrest, because of the risks to staff and to patients. So it's just not possible to open. But we have 7 other clinics outside of Port-au-Prince that are sheltered from all of this in a way. And I'll explain why I mean in a way. Our staff is all locally hired. All of our doctors, all of our nurses assistants, support personnel, and all the technicians that we need, and they all reside in the clinics that we're operating. Those clinics are, for the most part, up in the mountains, in the Western Department, areas called Alcae and Cabaret, the mountains above that. And we serve a population of roughly 300,000 people or more, including, that population is more than that because it's a lot of refugees from Port-au-Prince, internally displaced refugees whose houses they've had to leave, literally with the clothes on their backs, because of the fighting between gangs who are fighting for territories. And they're fighting. Bullets are just flying all over the place. They're using automatic and semi-automatic weapons, which are not manufactured locally for the most part, come from the United States, whether directly or through the Dominican Republic. And so in order not to be killed by stray bullets, they just get out of the area. And they're fanning out everywhere. Those that have relatives go to relatives. Those that don't, they're in schools, they're in churchyards, they're on the sidewalk, wherever they can find shelter, and are in need of food, in need of medical services, etc. Those in Port-au-Prince, there's very little we can do. If they make it to the areas where we work, then yes, we can provide services. And the focus right now for food is for children under 5 years old, because there's severe malnutrition. And the problem with malnutrition of children of that age is that it can do permanent damage to their brain and development. So it's a very dire situation. That's why we're focusing on that population. And because of the funding that we get, not only from the AME Church, not only from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, but also some from USAID, we're able to do that. But
and contributions
the needs are
from
greater
the Black
every day.
community. Black folks.
Yes.
These are black folks suffering in Haiti. The
And
money needs to go.
and
Go ahead.
we need the money. In fact, some of the grant from W.K. Kellogg Foundation will run out in about 3 months, and so we're going to depend more and more on donations to be able to continue. And the nutritional recuperation is we use all locally produced things. It's a blend of foods that we pulverize ourselves in those clinics and provide it to the mothers when they bring their children in 2 ways. Not only the child gets 2 meals for a 12 to 15 day period to recuperate from the malnutrition at the clinic, and also the mother or the parent who brings the child is given what we call dry rations to take home. And part of the problem with the dry ration is, but from a budgetary standpoint, is for the baby who's malnourished. But if you just give food just for the baby, we're fooling ourselves, because if the baby's not eating, the rest of the family is hungry too. So you have to calculate how much food is needed for the whole family. Otherwise, the baby's not going to get enough. So it's a vicious circle. And some children have had to come 2 or 3 times for this recuperation. And all of that is just draining the funds that we have. And again, thank God we have the money from these sources, including also from a lot of donations from individual AME church members and other people who give us money. But more is going to be needed, as I said, since the grant that we currently have with the W.K. Kellogg runs out in about 3 months. So and we're facing these evacuees coming out of Port-au-Prince in dire conditions and needing assistance. So that is expanding a portion of our work, because that's what the population needs, but we don't have the funds for it right now, and we won't. The situation will be worse in about 3 months when this one grant runs out. So it is a situation in Haiti which is getting more and more dire, because the political upheaval is not getting any better. On the political side, I'm sure you've read about the CARICOM Accords and all these things, and there's been no agreement among the various political factions. And the big problem that we have is that our staff is, as I said, all local, the doctors, the nurses, all the technicians, etc. And they live on the premises. Some of them have been stuck in those clinics for 2 or 3 months. They can't go home because the roads are unsafe. Sometimes they're able to sneak through on Sunday morning. For some reason, that's the only time that they're able to sneak through. But a lot of times, if there's a calm for a couple of days, we're able to rush supplies, rush staff in and out, so give them a break. But it's very, very difficult. And getting more and more, their stays on site in the clinics is getting longer and longer.
People of color, your conscience all be beating you up right now. Get that checkbook and write the man a check. We need to get some money to Haiti. Doc, as he describes the physical manifestations of what's going on, when we think of these people who are suffering this, tell us your take on what can we do to help those people mentally, I guess, spiritually.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I want to commend Nicholas and his team for Mr. Nicholas and the team for the work that they're doing. I'm struck by just the sheer layers of challenges folks are contending with there, and we certainly are hearing the news as a member of the Haitian diaspora, where we get it indirectly through our families and our loved ones who are still on the ground. And what I can share and what I'm gathering even from what I'm listening as a part of this discussion is that we are just beginning to see the impacts of this crisis that we're sitting in right now, not only for the folks directly on the ground in Haiti, but for so many of Haiti's children spread across the world in the Haitian diaspora, who absolutely feel the indirect vibrations and impacts of these realities back home. And so when we're in these situations, we're hearing about these things that are chipping away at the basics, right? The very foundation of what we need. When we think about Maslow's hierarchy, that tells us as human beings, we need certain basic things to be at peace and to be at ease. Those include shelter. Those include some sense of safety and security. Those include food, right? And all of those things are being challenged right now for so many on the ground in Haiti. And so, of course, the immediate focus is around establishing some sense of stability there. But then I think about the ripple effects, the many ripple effects of what we're seeing here and what the implications and the impacts will be for decades to come, of children who've had to grow up in a situation of sheer panic. Right? We as humans are sort of wired to deal with crises and emergencies to a certain extent, right? We've all heard about the fight, flight, freeze sort of response that we have as a part of our making, that gets activated when we know there's a sense of danger around us, right? And so to some extent, we're equipped to deal with emergency situations. What we're not so well equipped for is when that's not a passing or a fleeting thing, but that remains a chronic and a sustained situation of panic, of insecurity, of having to be on edge, of folks going to bed under the sound of showers of bullets, waking up to that same situation, kids who can't get to school every day, adults and their parents who can't get to work to be able to provide for those folks. And so these are things that don't just have an immediate impact on our mental wellness, but that chip away at the very things that make us human. All right. And so this is absolutely an emergency situation that requires all of us to think about what can I do to help. And there's a lot here that can make us feel like, how can I even begin to touch what's happening on the ground? Is certainly something I sit with as a daughter of the country. And what I found is my sort of lane for being able to contribute somehow is looking at how we can help folks to touch and put their hands on some semblance of peace and ease in the midst of chaos, in the midst of a really chaotic situation. So some of the work that I do through Morehouse School of Medicine and partnered with organizations like Les Bâtis Santé Mentale, and that's an NGO based in Miami. And the name Les Bâtis Santé Mentale is Haitian Creole for reestablishing mental health, is to speak and do trainings remotely with folks on the ground in Haiti around how to establish some sense of peace, but also doing work that touches folks in the diaspora who also are affected by what's happening. And so we encourage folks to do things like, how do you find some simple thing that brings you peace, whether that's listening to a piece of music in the moments when there's quiet or stillness, whether that's going back to our spiritual grounding and to our spiritual sort of roots that provides a significant source of comfort for us to activate that part of our being for some sense of peace, and control, and tapping into those higher powers, whether it's considering how do we limit our exposure to the news and to all the videos and to all the radio sort of content around what's happening, right? I live in a household with aging Haitian parents who are very much tuned into radio as their main media for information, and to WhatsApp, where a lot of our folks are getting their information. And I periodically have to tell them, that may be enough for today. Like, maybe we set this down, because there is such a thing as overload with sitting and steeping in the news of, what my colleague has shared is an increasingly dire situation. And so we have to manage our wellness in that way. How much of this do we sit in and day out, and how much of it do we need to be useful without it being overkill, right? And so that's a part of the work that we're doing within the diaspora, and virtually through trainings with our colleagues on the ground in Haiti, working in partnership with folks like the Haitian Psychological Association that has staffed up the parallel to our 988 mental health emergency crisis line here in the U.S. They've managed to stand up a similar sort of resource in Haiti to manage an increasing demand for mental health supports, as you can imagine, as folks are trying to deal with things that most of us should never have to see, should never have to witness. And so those are some of the ways we're finding to assist. But it's we need more hands, and we need more support to carry forward with the work.
The dire situation is even more dire when there is nothing to turn to. They don't have a government that is in charge right now. I don't even think they've formulated a new governing body at this point. What does that do to your operation, Mr. Nicholas?
Well, sadly, we've learned to do without the government for many, many, many years. Even when there was a government, it was a government in name only in the capital city. The areas where we work, they've been non-existent for a long time. And in a way, it's unfortunate, and there are many reasons for it, and donors, international donors, have contributed to this disintegration of the influence of government, but that's a topic for another day. But nevertheless, the areas where we work, we're it. If we weren't there, there would be no care. And in a way, it's because of more than 30 years of investment by the AME Church in AME SEDA that we've been able to build up what little infrastructure we do have in those clinics, and the staff for those clinics, the equipment, and the garnering of proposals, whether the donations come from U.S. Agency for International Development, Kellogg Foundation, other donors, and individual persons. And so it's, for us, it's nothing new. And we continue to submit the reports to the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Agriculture as appropriate, but they don't do anything with them. I'm not even sure anybody reads them. But nevertheless, we act as if there was a government, and we continue to do the work that we do. And many times, the Ministry of Health, the regional office, asks us to go deliver vaccinations for them in our own cars or whatever means we have. And Dr. Bastien mentioned something which reminds me of something we have not even begun to talk about. The impact of all of this fighting, not only on children who are not able to go to school, and adults also. Hearing gunfire all night, or hiding under your bed, or making sure you're not near a window, that has an impact on the health of every individual who's exposed to that. But equally important is these hundreds, if not thousands, of young men. Some of them are teenage boys who are carrying these weapons and doing the dues of the people who are controlling these groups who are doing all the shooting. We saw this in parts of Africa after the civil wars in Liberia and in Mozambique and in so many other places, and where you have what you're going to have are these former boy soldiers. What do you do with them? They had no education to speak of, no training of any kind. All they had was that automatic weapon which was brought into the country. Somebody gave them the bullets, and so go shoot here, go shoot there. What do you do with that population if and when this madness stops? So that's that, and we've not even begun to address that. And in the meantime, we're so worried, and rightfully so, about who gets to eat today, who gets to recuperate from the malnutrition, who gets in a safe place, who has safe water, etc. Those are the day-to-day problems we have to deal with. So we've not begun to touch on these psychological issues that Dr. Bastien alluded to. But at some point, we're going to have to face it.
As you just mentioned, guns that come into the country and somebody gives them a gun and the ammunition for it. Who wants the country destabilized like that? Is there a faction outside the country, or is it something inside? Yeah, you smile. I'm sure that's I don't know whether my question is dumb or it's just so innate.
No. It's a very important question, and at the same time, it's one that I'm not in a position to answer. I can certainly conjecture. I certainly have opinions, but there's a long history of this. The gangs didn't just appear. This was created by individuals in power. This started, almost 20 years ago on a very small scale, and grew and grew and grew. Because when one group saw, oh, so-and-so has their little army of little gangsters ready to support them, let me get one too. And it just multiplied. And again, these are people who are in power, people who have economic power, people who have political power, who created this mass and also this mess. So this was not something that just popped up. And when they're not being used by the people who created them, then they're on their own to earn their keep any way they can. And this creates even more madness. This is not by accident that the port has been taken over, the airport has been taken over, the distribution of food, the distribution of fuel, all of that. It's because somebody can make some money off of it. When things are so-called calm, we pay 5,000 gourds, which is, not a lot, but you're paying it to somebody to be able to cross the road, to be able to go to the clinics, to bring the staff, to bring the supplies that they need. If we don't pay it, we don't get through. And even when we do pay it, we risk that they may attack the nurses. Most of our staff is female, both nurses and physicians. So they may be attacked in the car that they're in. They may have to give up some of the supplies that they're carrying, whether it's rice or food or batteries or water, whatever it is, so that they will not be attacked. So that it's a chance that we take when we are able to cross those so-called checkpoints that the gangs have, because they may decide they're going to attack the women in the car. And so far, by the grace of God, it hasn't happened. But it's a concern. So obviously, give up a bag of rice, give up a couple of bottles of water, give them the batteries or whatever equipment so that they can let them through. And that's how you operate, or you don't operate. In addition to the fee that they require that you pay. And now, to the point where we don't use our own cars, we rent local cars, because if there's a loss, it's not our car.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Hire local drivers, and that's how we can operate. Otherwise, we can't circulate.
Doc, back to you. All of the turmoil and confusion and just constantly in a state of flux. What does that represent for these young people that Mr. Nicholas was mentioning? People who are not going to school, but who are involved in everyday life, being a thug. What does that portend for the mental health of the country?
Yeah, huge issue, and I'm so glad that Mr. Nicholas sort of reinforced and brought that out as a part of this conversation, because I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, honestly, in terms of what the consequences of this period has been. We're now in a situation where we have young folks, little ones, who have known nothing but instability, and it's been such an extended period of the increasing beating drums towards where we're sitting right now, that you've had now this a significant chunk of the youth in Haiti's one of the nations, similar to some of our sister countries on the continent, that have what we call a youth bulge, where a significant portion of the population is younger than 30 or younger than 25 years old. And so many of these young folks, their youth has now been defined by this period of aggression, of violence, of seeing deaths around them left and right. That has a tremendous impact on the psyche of a young person, that has significant disruptions to their own development in terms of their education, how it's been halted and disrupted. Folks haven't been able to have a whole period of an academic school year uninterrupted for some time now, and not to speak of the normalization of aggression and of violence, not to speak of what our sisters, their young women, are facing. We have not seen the extent of weaponization of rape, of assault on female bodies to the extent of what we're hearing about and seeing down there in Haiti. And these things have huge repercussions for certainly at the individual level for these young women who are victims of these crimes. But as a society, how are these young men coming to understand women and how they deal with women? And as Mr. Nicholas speaks to, once we clear this madness, because we can't stay in this position forever, we have to at some point get past this on fire sort of level of being. Then the work will be huge in terms of how do you reconcile these pockets of society of these young folks who were armed with these weapons. How do you reintegrate them in any way into these communities where they have been the faces of such aggression and such violence? And I too saw it. Spent some time in Liberia. I alluded to earlier some work on the continent post Ebola, and so seeing there what the experience has been for these now 40 some year old folks who had been a part of these youth child militaries, and the challenges in those societies of having to reintegrate and find a place for those folks. And it saddens me that that's what I see ahead for Haiti in terms of what does now reunification and reintegration of a society on the other side of something like this look like, when so many of these young folks have been pulled into being the face of this aggression and violence against their brothers and sisters in their communities. And so we're going to be at work for some time trying to repair the damages here, and it's going to be something that's going to require so many pieces of expertise that can be brought to bear. I speak of the mental health piece without even speaking to then what becomes the physical manifestation of these things, right? What we're learning now about trauma is that so much of what happens in the aftermath of realities like this is that we then see transmission of trauma across generations, right? And so when I say this is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the consequences and the repercussions of what we're sitting in, I really mean we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of this for some time. It really saddens me for Haiti and for all who love and care about Haiti and its destiny.
I'm going back to the question I asked, I guess, a couple of minutes ago. Who benefits from this? There is no benefit to the population. There is no benefit to the anything in this continuous war of children, as you say, children who've grown up through all this instability, who are now, as you said, the young leaders, which are 30 years old, who have no education, no basic education, and have no I guess, way to re-enter a civilized society with any thought of being successful. Am I right, Mr. Nicholas?
Well, your question remains a difficult one to answer, in the sense that whoever created these gangs and is commanding them to do whatever they do is benefiting. But we're talking about a very small population, whether they be in the private sector, whether they be in government, or wherever they are. It's very few. And there's another thing that's happening to the overall economy of the country, which is already in dire shape. And the example I'll give you is our own staff. We have a couple hundred people who work for us who get salaries from us every month. It's a monthly payment system. And a number of years ago, because of security concerns, we don't pay in cash. We made it so that every employee opened a bank account, and the money is deposited in their account, and they go to the bank and get it. And there were a number of branches within relative relatively close to where these employees live and work, they could simply go get their money and go about their business. But now, these bank branches, and some of them were banks, some of them were co-ops, some of them were credit unions, they've been looted and burned down. So that technically the money for the employees has been deposited in a bank, but they can't go get it. They can't go get their monthly pay. And this month, for the first time, that these units that were near their residence or place of work have been burned down, they all would have to come to Port-au-Prince, and not even just anywhere in Port-au-Prince, but to Pétionville, one of the suburbs of Port-au-Prince, where there are, at least as of today, there are still bank branches open. And that's not realistic because they have to make it through these gang territories. So we don't know how they're going to get their money. Technically, they have it. It's in their account. But they can't get it. And they need the money to feed themselves, feed their families. And this is happening all over the economy. We're not the only one. We're a small entity. It's happening everywhere. You have the people who depend on the income they make that day to be able to eat that day. The small vendors in the markets on the side of the road. Some of them have lost their business and their inventory. It's been burned down and looted. So they're earning nothing. They can't eat. They can't feed their children and forget paying rent or whatever housing they have, because a lot of them, more than 500,000, according to the UN, have had to abandon their homes. So again, to your question of who's benefiting, I don't know, other than a very small minority which is ruling over these gangs.
Who is funding the gangs? Okay.
Yes. So that it's hard to say, but we can certainly detail who's not benefiting and who's suffering from it.
Absolutely. I'm as I listen, as I hope our listening audience is listening, the awful fact is that this is something that is totally outside of anything we've seen, especially in the Western Hemisphere, and it's amazing that all of these islands and territories were initially the land of the Carib Indian, and when they refused to become slaves to the settlers who came in, they brought slavery to those countries, and that's why we're there. We were brought to these areas to work plantations, sugar plantations, all of those things, and it continues to be in this country bad for people of color. But I can't imagine just how dire the situation is in Haiti. Mr. Nicholas, is that I'm totally stumped, but where is a point at which this country, who helps everybody in the world except countries that have people of color in them, what can this country do to assist in bringing this to some level of I was reading an article last night, normal. There is no normal in Haiti right now. All the normal, as you have already said, is the situation as we see it now. Is there a normal that Haiti can get back to? Doc?
Is this a question for me or for Dr.
I was giving that one to Doc, but did you hear me at all?
Okay.
Did you
I guess I would, I definitely agree that there's a lot of historical context that it would take us the better part of a week to probably touch around how we find ourselves where we sit here. And a lot of it, unfortunately, the reality has to do with at best, problematic sort of pattern of external involvement in Haiti's affairs. And so I shared as a preface to coming on the show that the politics and the historical pieces around this are layered and admittedly not my lane, and so that I would squarely focus my commentary around just what all this mess means for the psyche and the overall well-being and state of mind of my people, both on the ground and throughout the diaspora. But I do think a huge part of how we begin to see our way through this must be moving differently than we've moved in the past, which would center Haitian leadership in fleshing out the plan for the way forward, right, and figuring out the ways to sort of minimize the role and the power of external forces and driving and steering the ship of Haitian affairs. So in general, I would say that that's sort of my gut sense of an important part of the direction we need to be moving, and how do we sit more squarely inside Haitian-led, Haitian-driven sort of ideas about how we create a more functional society here, and starting that with a real sort of election process that's guided by the people on the ground, so that their will is allowed to establish who leads us in this new era of Haiti's history. But you're right to invoke the word of being stumped and perplexed. There are layers. There are lots of layers around what we're up against here, and it is becoming work to remain hopeful about how we see our way through this in a way that keeps us intact, that keeps us whole.
Mr.
If
Nicholas?
I may add,
Yes, go right
yes,
ahead.
there are a lot of people on the ground who are reasonable, who've given a lot of thought to the situation, and have tried to set up a direction to act. They are members of civil society, and some of them have been working on this for a while, specifically to try to not to let the situation get to this point. They were thwarted by both locally and by outside forces. The question whether or not they'll be able to continue to push through, because there are lots of reasonable people who have a way out of this. If there can be, and as Dr. Bastien put it, who are local forces and are looking at a Haitian way out of this. And whether or not they'll be able to push through, I don't know. I don't have that kind of power or vision. But there are local people who've been talking about this for quite some time, who've tried to coalesce with similar entities, and they've involved all kinds of groups, unions, farmers groups, business groups, politicians of every ilk and belief, who are trying to push this through. But whether or not they'll be able to continue, I don't know.
Well, that is gloomy there, to say the least. Well, that is stunning, completely stunning.
And that may be something for one of your shows. I'd be more than happy to share names with you of people you can talk to who'll be able to discuss that very political movement that they've been trying to push through for almost 3 years, to try to keep us from getting to this point where everything is just seems to have fallen apart.
Definitely.
And as Dr. Bastien said, that's not my lane, so I certainly have opinions about it, but there are other people who are in a better position to talk about those details.
I am completely stunned that someone who may be Haitian, may be a part of the tearing apart of the Haitian society, at what benefit and how do we understand how to improve their plight when there are people who are attempting to keep the country unstable, for what gains? I mean, there's can't be a lot to gain. Haiti has very seldom been run by Haitians. It's been run by the French for many, many years, and other historic situations. And now everybody's pulled out and left them to, I don't know. Doc, you're gonna have to clear my mental health after this.
I can tell you, let me share this. I admitted that hope is becoming increasingly hard to grasp onto, but I'll tell you what does give me a sense of hope. It's in the young folks of Haiti, because in the same way that we have young people who have been brought in ways that are really destructive, and to be in the faces of aggression, and armed with weapons that are not manufactured or made anywhere on the island, is one face of this. But what I've also find, both on the ground in Haiti and certainly throughout the diaspora and working with young folks of Haitian descent, is an incredibly bright, incredibly motivated, incredibly proud of their Haitian descent group of folks who seem really vested in what happens with Haiti and what their role in that can be. One of the things that I've been engaged in our team here at Morehouse School of Medicine over the past few years is sort of recognizing, even before this situation had reached the extent of where it is now in Haiti, that there were mental health sort of needs and challenges on the ground in Haiti throughout the diaspora that we were outnumbered to contend with, that we didn't have enough folks like me or a lot of my colleagues in psychiatry and psychology and social work and these other mental health fields, and recognizing that we can't specialty trained level folks are way out of the limited hands we have to attack the issues of mental health need in the community. We turned to our young folks and thought, here's a group of folks who, first of all, get it in terms of mental health being a challenge. We don't have to do the same amount of work in convincing them that depression is a real thing, that the stigma around mental health is not the same. There's not the same burden of stigma with those folks as compared to some of the generations before them. And we thought, how do we arm and equip these young folks to lead promoting mental wellness in the community? And so what we started is a first of its kind program to train young folks in the Haitian community in Atlanta and in the state of Georgia, where I sit, but also in Florida, and we're now working to expand to Boston and to New York areas to serve as community mental health workers. And I have been just blown away by how these young folks have taken 6 months worth of curriculum and some training and have just gone forth and done amazing things in terms of creating social media campaigns and programs and initiatives in their community to help folks understand what mental health is, how can we be better. That is where my hope sits for our country, is that there is an incredibly motivated, capable group of young folks who just await their turn to show what they're capable of and what they can bring to bear in helping our country move forward. And I had the same experience when I spent time in Haiti. The majority of my time was spent there between 2010 and 2012 after the earthquake, where we worked with young folks who were a part of implementing trauma programs on the ground, and where we as psychologists had to back away eventually and say, these are the people who are equipped to do this work, and they took everything that we gave them, Haitianized it, made it their own, and really did some amazing work that brought real impacts for their communities in terms of mental health improvement. So that to me is where the hope lies. I think we have a young generation that requires, demands, and deserves for us to create a better reality for them in Haiti and throughout the diaspora, to be able to bring forth their brilliance, because they have exactly what the world needs right now. And so that's what motivates me and energizes me in the midst of what can otherwise be a pretty depressing and despairing sort of reality.
Well, I'm not Haitian and I'm hurting after this. Uh, Mr. Nicholas, would you like to have a last word as we close out this discussion?
Yes, I think similar to what Dr. Bastien said, when we come in and work with the populations that we target in the rural areas, with some of the income generating projects through agriculture, we find a population which is not only willing to work independently, willing to work on its own, willing to work on its own benefits, recognizes what it needs. You don't need a study. They will tell you what the needs are. You can put it in a study if you like, but they'll tell you what the needs are, and they know where to go with just the minimum of resource, which are not local. And we've had great results, particularly in the agricultural area, particularly in food production, and with just a small amount of outside resource, using local agronomists, using organizations of local farmers, etc., and have gotten great results. And those things can continue on their own. And that part of it is crucial, because one of the big issues in Haiti is economic inequities. And it's turning into environmental inequities, health inequities, and all of those things. And those things have got to be addressed. It's not just a question of taking guns away from gangs. It's a question of giving people the wherewithal to make a life for themselves. And if we don't take that approach, we will continue to knock our heads against the wall, and this thing is going to continue to fester.
In the words of Brian Stevenson, the opposite of being poor is not being rich, it is justice. Doc, last words from you?
Mainly want to thank you for the opportunity, and Mr. Nicholas, it's a pleasure to have met you through this process, and I hope we have an opportunity to connect. Otherwise, I really appreciate the fact that you created the opportunity for this conversation, because I think it's shocking how little many folks are aware and understand what's happening on the ground in Haiti. We certainly hear a lot about Gaza and Ukraine and all these other places, but not nearly as much focus on the situation in Haiti. So I thank you for even raising the awareness around what's happening. I think a lot starts there, and a lot starts with us understanding what connects us as African descended people and as a part of the African diaspora. So I appreciate the spirit behind the invitation to see this as a struggle for us all, and not just those of us in Haiti or of Haitian descent.
You're going to get tired.
I also want to thank you.
Oh, thank you. You guys are going to get tired of me, because now I'm going to worry you.
We'll work it out.
Mr. Nicholas, give us your addresses again that people can make contributions.
Yes, it's the postal address is 1134 11th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20001, and the website www.ame-sada.org.
I'm sure that the good doctor is going to take that back and put it on everybody's doorstep in Atlanta, Georgia. I am so appreciative of your participation in this discussion. And like I said, I'm probably going to be somebody you wish you never met, because I'll be worrying you to death about recreating this and becoming better prepared, or better informed, rather, to help. Again, thank you very much. And you have been watching NorthNashvilleTV.com, a discussion of Haiti